Hello, hello, all you beautiful nines. I'm so happy to have you here learning about how to stop overeating. I'm going to teach you 3 steps to stop overeating specifically as an Enneagram 9. We have our own little interesting things that make overeating a challenge. And so since I'm a coach for nines, I've decided that this would be a great thing for me to talk about. A little bit about me. My name is Heather Fillmore, and I'm a certified life coach. I was trained at the Life Coach School. It's the best of the best as far as life coaches trainings go, in my opinion. I was trained in something called causal coaching, helping people to get to the root of their problems, which is their thoughts, and figure out that cause. I also was trained in weight coaching, and it's not something I focus on in my coaching practice is weight, but a lot of times my clients bring to me some of their issues with food. And I find as nines that some of those issues are pretty similar. So I'm going to share with you some of those things tonight. I am a mom of 9. I have 5 biological kids and 4 that were adopted from foreign countries. 3 of them have special needs. And before I learned about the Enneagram, I just thought something was wrong with me because I felt so impatient. It was so hard for me to have all this commotion around me, even though I had this huge desire to help these children that needed homes. It was hard for me to be happy because of all the commotion, all the conflict going on all the time in my life. And I learned the tools that I teach as a life coach, and I was coached and hired a coach, and I was able to come out of depression from that. And then just recently in the last year, I've learned about the Enneagram, and it's helped for me to put together the coaching tools that I have and this knowledge that I have of the way that my brain is wired and the thought processes that my brain goes through and all the avoidance that I create with my brain that is not helpful to me. And it's been very validating for me to see that there's nothing wrong with me. It's just the way that my brain automatically goes to. And as I put my knowledge from the life coach school into this, it helps. It's like this perfect combination because I realized that all of these tendencies are just tendencies, and they're because of stories that I've created in my own brain. And I can question those stories, and it gives me a lot of power over my emotional life. So that is why I chose to specifically coach Enneagram 9s in my practice. And that's who I talk to on Instagram at the Enneagram 9 Life Coach on Instagram. And on my website, it's www.heatherfillmorecoaching.com. Okay, so why do 9s overeat? 9s have these brains, just like everyone else, that are wired for 3 things. This is the motivation behind everything that we do, and it comes from our ancestors in the cave period. Our motivations are to seek pleasure, avoid pain, and conserve energy, or exert the least amount of energy. And if you think about Enneagram 9s, we specifically really avoid pain at all cost, right? Like we do not, it's a disruption to our peace if there's any kind of something painful lurking around. And we also are very careful to conserve our energy. We like to indulge in confusion and overwhelm and things like that because it takes too much energy to have to figure things out. And that's a common thing with us. So what happens with food is our brain tells us a whole bunch of lies that don't serve us according to what the brain is wired to do. So as it's wired to seek pleasure, here's some of the lies that our brain feeds us. That food will make you feel better, right? That seeking pleasure, we're gonna feel better if we eat that. You need that, your brain says. Eating with others will make you feel connected. And as nines, we want to always feel like we're part of the group. And anything that looks threatening to that, like we might not be accepted by others, is very scary to us. So that's just one of the lies that our brain tells us. If you don't eat with these people and eat what they eat and do what they do, they might not accept you completely. And in the avoid pain arena, we have our brain saying it hasn't worked in the past, so why would it work now to start eating healthy? You know, it's our brain's trying to protect us from disappointment. You'll look like a failure, it tells us. If you tell anyone that you're eating better and then you don't stick to it, you're just going to look bad. That's a big threat to us as nines. Another thing it tells us is don't let anyone see you going for a goal because you're just not worth it. That is a biggie. And it's so sad to me to see how everyone regards everyone else, all the nines out there. When they're not in a super healthy place, they tend to regard everyone else as important and, you know, more worthwhile human beings. And then they see themselves as not as important. So if we try for any kind of big goal, like eating better or losing weight, that there's a danger. And we see that as like a possible pain happening, because we might be, if we do that, we might show other people that they're not as good. And we're worried about that disrupting the peace for them. And we want them to have all the peace too, right? Another thing, our brain, and to conserve energy, it tells us that it's just too hard to stop. It decides to just stay in that confusion, indecisive place that it likes to be in our nine brains. And then maybe it tells us that it's supposed to be easier, and it's not. So just don't even bother with it. So those are a few of the things that our brain likes to tell us. So I want to give you a new way to think about this. I want you to think of each attempt to start eating, not overeating, and eating more healthy. And I'm not going to say attempt to lose weight, because not all of you want to lose weight. You just want to eat healthy and quit overeating. So each attempt is just practice. So if you think about a baby learning how to walk, like in this picture, they don't think of it as like, if I fall, that means there's something wrong with me. They just keep getting up. Nobody tells them that falling is wrong. They just know that everyone does it, and so they can do it too. And they keep trying and they keep trying, and eventually they can walk. So think of it like that. Every single time we try to change our habits and maybe we don't succeed with it, instead of thinking of it as, oh, I can't do it again, I'm never going to be able to do this, think of it as just another bit of information that we can use, and just one more step along the journey. Think of it like learning a new sport, like learning to play hockey. You've got to first get on those skates, learn how to skate, stay on it. You know, so many skills to learn. It's going to take a lot of practice to get to where we want to go. And you're going to make a lot of mistakes. The mistakes are part of it. So learning to eat healthy and not overeating is just like anything else that we learn. We have to be willing to fail multiple times in order to have success in the end. So the real problem with overeating is not what we eat, specifically what we eat. A lot of people think that there's just like this perfect diet, and if we follow that perfect plan, we're gonna just lose weight and everything will be wonderful. Well, that perfect plan is not the problem. Not following a specific plan is a problem. The problem. When you go on some kind of a diet and you lose weight, it's kind of like putting a bandage on the symptom, because the symptom is the food itself or your weight. The problem, what actually causes overeating, is over desire, so too much desire, and over hunger, or too much hunger. Now, the over hunger part is not something that I'm going to be talking about in this class. That is created, overhunger is created by our hormone imbalance that happens because we're eating too much sugar and the things that cause our hormones to fluctuate and our blood sugar to take dives throughout the day. That makes us think that we're hungrier than we are. And that's one of the reasons that we overeat. I'm not going to be talking about that tonight. You can learn about that by just studying different kinds of eating plans, and it'll teach about that. What I'm going to be sharing tonight is how to overcome the over desire part. Our brain desires a lot more than it needs to, and that's why we overeat. So one reason we have over desire is because food is just downright pleasurable, right? Like when we eat good food, it sends a dopamine response to our brain, and our brain says, that tasted really good. And it creates that feeling of pleasure. Another reason that we over desire is because we just don't want to feel. And we think that feeling is a problem, especially feeling something that doesn't feel good. So our brain thinks if we just eat something that tastes good, that's going to help us feel better right away. And your brain is right. It will make you feel better for a minute. But the brain doesn't think through the consequences of overeating. Another reason that we over desire is just belief systems that we have that, I mean, there are so many. You wouldn't believe when you start really digging, you're going to find a lot of beliefs about food and about socializing with food and why we have to eat all the food on our plate and why we have to hurry and eat really fast. Just so many beliefs that started from when we were little. And we carry those with us into our adulthood, and it really triggers that over desire. So if you look at the salad on the left, this releases a healthy amount of dopamine, which is what we need. That we need a certain amount of dopamine sending a signal to our brain in order to tell us to keep eating, or we wouldn't eat, right? If food wasn't pleasurable, we just wouldn't eat, and we need to eat. So there's a reason for that. This salad has just the right amount. But this over here on the right, this lava cake, it has refined flour and refined sugar in it, which is a concentrated, it's a concentrated version of food. So it releases a concentrated amount of dopamine to our brain. So just like things like pornography, which is a concentrated amount of sex, that releases this extra amount of dopamine, or alcohol. Just, you know, it's a concentrated substance. So think of food or sweets or unhealthy foods, fatty, salty, flour, you know, made with refined flour. Those kind of things release this unhealthy amount of dopamine that was not meant to be released by food to us. And so our desire actually intensifies to the point where if we try to deprive ourselves of it for so long, we end up just binging because we're like, I've got to have it. Our brain just thinks I've got to have that. And so we just binge. So over desire is not healthy for us. So one way to tell if you are actually hungry is, here's step number one to overcoming over desire, is to just notice whether it's a sensation or if it's an emotion. Sensations start in our body and travel to the brain. So hunger is a sensation. If you are actually really hungry, you're going to feel like a growly feeling in your stomach. Maybe your stomach's going to hurt a little bit and kind of twinge, and that's going to send a signal to your brain that you need food. That's different than an emotion. An emotion starts in your brain and travels down to your body. So if you're feeling an urge to eat or desire to eat, that's going to start in your brain, because all of a sudden, like say you see a plate of cookies on the counter and you're like, I want one of those. That's going to send a vibration into your body. And that vibration is an emotion, that emotion of desire. So the thought was, I want one of those, and the feeling or the vibration is desire. So just always ask, is this an emotion or is this a sensation? And then it also helps to really ask yourself, if you are thinking that it's hunger, if it's truly hunger, where are you on the scale? If -10 is super, super hungry, you're going to die, and +10 is super, super full, like you're just going to pop, you want to be like -3 or 4 before you eat. If you're feeling at all satisfied or full, obviously it's not hunger that you're having right now. It's some kind of emotion. Step number 2 to overcoming over desire is getting curious. Asking yourself, what is it that I'm feeling right now that's making me think that I need to eat? Am I bored? Am I irritated? Am I lonely? Am I feeling shame or desire of some kind? I notice that happening a lot with me. When my kids are fighting and it's crazy, all of a sudden I feel frustration, and then sometimes I'll yell and that turns into shame. And the first thing that pops in my head is, what can I stuff in my mouth right now? So it happens a lot more than we think. And just getting curious and asking ourselves what is causing, what feeling we're feeling is this second step that's very important. Because what we usually do with emotion, negative emotion, is we either resist, react, or avoid. Resisting is when we are just pretending like we aren't even feeling it. And this happens a lot with like shame, anxiety. Okay, so anxiety is a secondary emotion of fear. So if we're afraid for some reason, we're kind of feeling confronted, like as 9s, we don't like that feeling of confrontation. So we push it down, and that fear turns into anxiety. And all of a sudden we've got this feeling of anxiety. So that's resisting. And the more you resist, it's like pushing a beach ball into the water, and the harder you push it down, it's just going to explode, and it's just going to cause all kinds of problems. So resisting never is healthy for us. Second thing is reacting. So if you're feeling so much emotion and you can't handle it anymore, so a lot of people just react by yelling or hitting or whatever. Third thing is avoiding. So this is probably what we as 9s do the most. We just shut ourselves off from our emotions. And it's really amazing to me how we've gotten so good at it. And a lot of the people that I talk to have gotten so good at turning their emotions off that they don't even know how to feel the positive and like good and happy ones very well. They have a hard time truly experiencing that. So all 3 of these are not healthy because they create problems in our lives. So what we want to do is we want to learn how to process our emotions, to allow them and process them. So if you think about life, it's 50-50. This is the human experience. We are here on this planet to experience not only happiness, but also the hard things. So, but it's not supposed to be all hard or all easy, right? There's kind of a blend of the two of them. And that's the way life is supposed to be. And we have a hard time accepting that. When it actually is happening and there's something hard happening to us, even though logically we know that's life, like that's what we're supposed to be having here, we think that there's something wrong. We're like, this shouldn't be happening. And so what happens is we have all these negative emotions on the right here, the guilt, the pain, the anxiety, boredom, right? Just all of these. We think that this is a problem. And so we don't like that feeling. So we want to not have to feel the discomfort of it. So we use food, alcohol, porn, Netflix, whatever is, easiest to us at the moment. We use that as a buffer from our emotions so that we don't have to feel our emotions. And I just want to teach you that in order to really, truly experience the whole human experience, you've got to do all of it. You've got to allow those negative emotions instead of buffering from them. And so this comes with learning how to process an emotion. So here's how to process. the first thing you're going to do is you're going to name the emotion that you've been avoiding. Okay. Right now, I'm feeling frustration. Okay. So you're going to kind of step away from the situation for a minute if you have to. Tell yourself what you're feeling and then ask yourself where it is in your body. And as soon as you can locate it, usually it's like anxiety is usually in your chest, frustration, I feel it in my shoulders and my neck. You're going to ask yourself, is it fast or slow? You're going to like locate it in your body and think of it as like this actual thing. And you need to explain it to somebody, but you're just explaining it to yourself. What does it look like? What color is it? Is it hot or cold, fast or slow? Just kind of describe it to yourself as you are locating it in your body. It helps me to kind of close my eyes and just do it that way. And then this is what I do. I put my hand on my heart because basically you're just getting into your body instead of in your head. And this like connects you to your soul to your body because you're disconnected. And then either I'll place my hand on my heart or I will hug myself. And I just say, I'm embracing the whole human experience right now. And I love and accept myself for even though I'm feeling this feeling. So the more you do this, the better you get at it, the more quickly you can process. And you can actually fully process an emotion in less than a couple of minutes, like 90 seconds is all it takes. So practice, practice, practice is what we need to do. So our goal is to unlearn desire by allowing the urges. And it's just, if you think about, I don't know if you've heard of the experiment that Pavlov did with his dogs, where they would ring a bell and then they would feed the dog. Ring a bell, feed the dog. And pretty soon it got to the point where they would ring the bell and the dog would just salivate from the sound of the bell. And they decided to see what would happen if they took away the food, if they would still salivate even though the food wasn't there. So they started ringing the bell and not giving them food. And eventually, after they had done that so many times, the dogs would stop salivating at the sound of the bell. So this can teach us that we can do the same thing with our human brains as dogs can do. We can unlearn that neural pathway that we've created where we eat the food, we feel good. We eat the food, or we feel the desire, we eat the food, we feel good. You can feel the desire and interrupt that and not eat the food and still feel fine. So that's the point that we want to get to. So this is a model, what we call the self-coaching model. It starts with the circumstance, and this is what I use in my coaching practice. My earring just fell out. I'll just take the other one out. So if we have the circumstance of just driving past Wendy's at lunchtime and we're kind of hungry and we're trying to have better habits, but we feel this urge and in our mind, we're thinking a hamburger would be so quick and yummy right now. And so that thought creates a feeling of desire. And that feeling of desire makes us pull over and get the hamburger and eat it. And then the result from that action is that we haven't changed our habit at all, right? So what we want to start doing is interrupting this model. So say the same thing is happening. You're driving past Wendy's at lunchtime. You're thinking a hamburger would be so quick and easy right now and yummy. And then you feel that urge, that desire. This is where you interrupt the model. And instead of giving into the urge, you allow the urge to be present. Just be okay with it without rewarding it. And that eventually, the more times you do that, you are going to change your habit. So if you want to overcome this habit, you've got to welcome these opportunities as much as possible to practice. And I would even recommend trying to go through this process like 100 times without answering the urge, because you've got to create that new pathway in your brain, and it's going to take a lot of practice. And of course, you're going to fall and mess up a lot, but that's just part of the process. Okay, I am attaching to the email where I sent this a list of thoughts that can help you to stop overeating when you're feeling urges. And I'm not going to go through all those thoughts right now, but I might just pick a couple. So say you feel the urge to eat. So one thought that you could think was like, I can either feel disappointment now or later. So this is where you're just telling your brain, I can feel disappointment now by not eating it, or I can feel it later by eating it and having the consequences of it, because I'm not going to feel good and it's going to make me gain weight. Like my brain is just confused. That's another one you could use. I wonder what would happen if I didn't eat it. Just getting curious about it. Something like maybe later, looking at the food and just thinking, okay, it's there. Maybe later I can eat it. These are all just kind of little suggestions, and you can try different ones on and see which ones help you the most to keep from eating, and just keep using it as much as you need to. So getting from where you are right now to where you want to be is a process. It's not something that's just going to happen overnight, but it is a very intentional thing, and having a life coach helps you to get there a lot faster, because what I can do as a life coach is help you to identify those limiting beliefs that are making it so hard for you and that are making you sabotage your efforts. And each little, like these arrows right here, each represent kind of a different version of yourself. There's the version of yourself right now. There's the one that might be in a month or 2, 3 months, 4 months. I have a 6-month coaching plan where I work with my clients for 6 months to slowly help them to create that transformation and to become the more intentional peacemaker that they want to be. I have this amazing program. It's called the Purposeful Peacemaker, where I teach you all these incredible tools that help you to live at your highest level as a 9, and also to guide you in your inner work that you do on your own. And then we meet once a week on Zoom, and I coach you with the things that are just coming up in your life. And it's really so cool, because just the littlest things that happen in your life are really revealing about all these other things. And having a coach to help you see your brain and to see the results that you're creating with those thoughts is everything. And I used to think that I wasn't worth it, that having to like spend money on myself and invest in myself could never happen, because I wasn't as important as other people in my life. But when I finally did that and I invested money on myself and time on myself and started changing all of these things that were keeping me so stuck and so feeling so little in my life, it helped my self-confidence so much, because it made me realize like I'm worth it. Like I can spend this on myself, and the best thing is that everyone in my life gets to benefit from it, because having a confident mom or sister or wife is awesome. They don't have to deal with all of the drama of someone that isn't confident. So that's what I do as a coach, and I would love for you to schedule a free discovery session with me, and you can try it for free and see if it's something that would be good for you, and if our partnership would be good. So there's no obligation, no pressure. It's just a great thing to try. So you can get on my website to schedule, or I'll leave a link on here. So that is it. Thank you so much for taking this time with me, and good luck with everything. Bye-bye.